Good evening. Welcome to our last class for the small business series. So tonight we are going to discuss, we're week 4, we're going to discuss how to grow your business. And the first week we talked about basics of starting a business, financial statements, and loans for the second week. And then marketing, sales, HR last week, and this week, growing your business, how to grow your business. So the first thing is, do you have a business plan? Or if you already have a business plan, have you reevaluated it on a quarterly basis, 6 months, or a yearly basis? So maybe in your business plan, you need to increase your marketing efforts. Maybe you write in offer discounts and customer appreciation, like a loyalty program. Have you thought about hiring a business development or salesperson based on commission? That is better than an employee that we talked about last week, because commission means you actually have money coming in and you just give them a percentage. You can negotiate that percentage based on your industry or just based on your relationship with them. And then also sometimes we forget about bilingual markets. So let's say you have I don't know, like a t-shirt business, and you are selling t-shirts to football teams, cheerleading teams. Well, what about soccer teams? And sometimes in Oak Cliff or in our neighborhoods, the soccer teams, the big soccer leagues may be all in Spanish. So you may have someone who speaks Spanish to go out and get business for you, and then you give them a commission on based on what they sell. Also, sometimes they do that for car dealerships. They have English and Spanish commercials. And so you may also want to think about putting if you decide to do a Instagram or a Facebook commercial, putting it in another language and having that person that you hire be in charge of answering those calls or answering the email and the communication. The next one, we'll talk about our certifications. And these are not industry certifications, these are ethnic certifications. They are to certify that you are a women-owned business or a small business or a minority business. And that is like a government classification that we'll go over. And then the next one is to form a strategic partnership, basically with the government or corporate contracts. Then you can consider franchising your business, acquiring another business, i.e. a competitor, and then international expansion if that is the type of business that you have. So what are 3 reasons why you need a business plan? You develop a roadmap. Sometimes the business owner knows, the product and the trade, but they need to know what's the step-by-step plan on how to market, raise capital, and how to grow. It analyzes your business efficiencies. So you may like one particular product and you may think it's the best. Maybe if you had a t-shirt business, you may think that one of the t-shirt designs, is really popping. Well, when you look at the overall sales, you realize that it's lacking in sales and actually costing you money. And maybe you have a restaurant and your dishes on the menu, and you realize with the increased cost of produce or any type of product that it's just not very efficient to sell that item anymore. You can do it to raise capital. Investors need to know that you have enough experience, working capital, and strategy to succeed. And basically use the business plan when you're trying to raise capital to give the other person the insight into your business. And you want them to know that you've actually sat down and thought about your industry, your business, and how it pertains to the industry and where you want to take it. And then it helps us avoid mistakes. A step-by-step plan allows the business owner to develop and double-check strategies. So if you know that you want to expand your business, well, if you do a step-by-step plan on how to do that, where you are in 6 months, where you are in a year or 2 years, you can just double-check off the list. I've done that. This is the next step. So you may, with the growth, sometimes we forget steps. And that is, that's where we develop cash flow problems, and that's where we develop the mistakes, the missteps of growing too fast. So a few of you asked for the business plan, and so here is the basically business plan outline. You have to add more information to it, but the first page will be like, your company name, your logo, address, phone number, email, and website if you have one. Also, I would add your Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter accounts as well. So then your investor or maybe the banker can see where you're going, where you want to go, and what product you produce. Your back end, because your back end tells a lot about you. Table of contents, and the executive summary is just a 2-page summary of numbers 4 through 9. So the first part is the operational plan, and you describe your business from top to bottom. What are you selling? What are you making? It doesn't have to be long. It can be like, I manufacture t-shirts, or I'm in the restaurant business. I sell wedding cakes. I sell desserts. And then what is your mission in business? What do you want to achieve? Your goals and your objectives. And then what is who's on your management team? Is it you, maybe a spouse, maybe a friend, a relative, maybe maybe just a business partner? That's where you put in like your resumes. And then you put in experience that you have in the industry. I've been a baker for 20 years. I've been doing my own thing for 20 years, or I've worked at a restaurant baking desserts for 20 years. Whatever pertains to the business, you put it in there. And then you talk about strategy. How do you want to grow your business? How have you sustained this long? Or how do you want to enter the market? Do you want to enter the market, with maybe you just want to have one contract? What's your strategy for like the next 2 years? The next one's, what is your products or services? What do you do? So you list, if you're in a t-shirt business, you list all of your t-shirts, like your designs. You do polos, maybe. You may also do sweatshirts. You may do caps. Whatever you do in business, if you are a restaurant, you list your menu. What are your mainstays? This is what my menu is. And then the next part about products and services, is it manufactured or is it a skilled trade? So you talk a little bit about that. Where is it manufactured? Is it manufactured in China? Is it here in the United States? And what type of skills do you need to do this? Like if you have if you're in construction, what type of construction is it? Is it, carpentry, millwork? If you are a landscaping company, what type of skills do you have? Do you have a degree in, I believe some colleges is under the natural sciences program, and they call it fashion merchandising. But if you dig into it, it's a trade about landscaping and how to take care of trees and everything. So is this a skill trade? Did you learn it from your uncle? Just talk a little bit about that. And then describe the process from inception to final product. List future products and services. So let's say right now you are a t-shirt company. You may just sell t-shirts and sweatshirts and caps. Well, then later on, you may want to sell, like button-down shirts, or you may want to sell awards for the football teams, for the departments. You may want to sell some type of bracelet or some type of necklace with a team's symbol on it. What are your future products and services? And then how long will it take you to get there? Is it going to take you 2 years? Do you want to implement this in 3 years or next year? So you just talk about what your plans and goals are. And then the next part, which is really important, is the market analysis. So do research on your business. What's the history of the product and service? Not necessarily like from maybe like 1800 or things like that, but what is the design, how's it made, and also who are your competitors. You can do a quick search on the internet about who makes t-shirts. If you have a restaurant, what type of, if you specialize in soul food, or you specialize in real quick like hamburgers, or maybe you have you serve fried chicken or fish in your area. Who are your competitors? So you can do like a 10-mile range, and then you can do small companies. I would say do small companies, and then you can also do the larger chain companies. So if you have a restaurant and you sell, just like a dinner plates, well, you can say that Chili's is a competitor. You can say maybe Applebee's, or any other type of chain restaurant is a competitor. And you talk about what makes you different than them, what makes you similar than them. Because you always want to say what makes you different and better than your competitors and your business plan. You want to see the upside, because if anyone's reading this and want to invest in your company, you always want to say, hey, I'm better because of this. And then the next part, which is another important piece, is the SWOT analysis. So that is your company's strengths, your company's weakness, your company's opportunities, and your company threats. Like it is a four square, and I have one here for you. And you just make like a list of what's your company's strengths. So if you have, what does your company do? What does your company do well? The qualities that separate you from your competitors, and then internal resources, like who do you have on your staff? Who do you hire as a contract worker, or who can you hire as a contract worker? If you are, let's say, if you are a legal firm, and your strength is that you do mergers and acquisitions, or you may do litigation. Well, if something comes up about tax, maybe somewhere down the line in the contract, hey, I also have this as a resource for my company, that I have a friend that's in tax law. So talk about yourself, who you can pull on your team, and then the competitive advantages that you have. And then what are your tangible assets? Like if you manufactured a design or some type of gadget, you need to talk about your intellectual property here, capital property, and technology. What makes your product better than the competition? What's the weakness? What does your company lack? It could be capital. Um, it could be overall marketable. People don't know about your business. And then you talk about what things your competitors do better than you. They may market better than you. They may have more business development people, salespeople than you. Um, are your resources limited? Uh, is there a problem in the supply chain, like during COVID, for instance, the chip that's put in cars, the the plant shut down across overseas. So that meant that a lot of the car makers couldn't make enough cars. So impacted their resources, and there's a shortage of cars right now, of new cars. And then it moved into used cars. So what happens? An unclear, unique selling proposition. Like, what is your 30-second spill? Talk about that. Do people really know what you do? What are your opportunities in the industry? Like we talked about the bilingual, um, hiring a salesperson or hiring someone in your company to be bilingual. Sometimes we forget, we only talk about in Texas Spanish and English, but if you lived up north, like in Collin County, there's a huge Asian population. So if you have legal services, tax services, or if you sell T-shirts or even desserts, that may be an opportunity to go to an underserved market. They may have people that do that, But if you're reaching out and you're hiring people that know them or that attend the same events as them, that may be an opportunity for your company to increase sales. Few competitors in your area. Uh, if it's technology, usually few competitors do what you do. Emerging need for your products or services. COVID was interesting. So when everyone was looking around for hand sanitizer, what became what companies started making hand sanitizers, which was just crazy to me, but it worked. The liquor companies start making hand sanitizers. That was an opportunity for them to increase their sales, and some of them did very well by making hand sanitizer from their product. So always look for different opportunities, especially during COVID. What can help your business emerge from the field when everyone else is lacking? And then also don't forget to do press media coverage of your company. We talked about that in the marketing part. Always send in ideals and different articles to your about your company to the media. I think I discussed that I wrote insurance and bonding articles for a whole month for the construction news. And so that increased my visibility in the market, and people start calling me if they ever needed help with my project at the time was Dallas ISD. They start calling me when they needed help at that particular project. Or if they needed help at, we were also working at the city of Dallas, and I could just refer them to one of my coworkers. So don't forget to do media and press coverage, and also you should have like a Facebook and Instagram presence. Um, Whoever runs that, you could have your kids run that. I think I forgot to mention that last time. Have your kids run your social media presence because that's what they do. Um, that can bring visibility to you and your company. And then the next part, what are your threats? What about emerging competitors? So before, when we talked about who are your competitors, you can put them in your threats section about, why do you think they are emerging? Why do you think that they could take a piece of the market share? Changing regulatory environment. So, people sometimes laws change, and I think the biggest part of that is like the coal mine companies. Um, you can't really work in a coal mine anymore. All those are shut down, but the changing regulatory environment uh, made that possible. Plus, it's very dangerous to work there because of the health reasons. But anything from the federal government or state law that could shut down your company. Negative press coverage, media coverage. Now that's up for debate because some people say all press is good press, whether it's good or bad. Um, and that's possible. You just have to figure out where you fall on that medium. And then the next thing, the last thing about the SWOT analysis would be under threats, would be changing customer attitudes towards your company. So, one example of this, the manufacturers of straws. For a while, it wasn't a problem. But when they realized that the straws were getting caught in the throats of animals in the sea, like the turtles, um, the attitudes start changing. People stopped buying straws, or they switched over, they pivoted and went to paper straws. So that could be a threat to the company. That's an example of a threat to the company that you could, think about what it reflects on your company, how people had a changing attitude of straws, and then someone invented paper straws. So then under the business plan outline, the next one would be market analysis. Who's your target market? Um, do you want to sell to football teams? Do you want to sell to people in a 10-mile radius? Because that's a geographic location. Who do you want to sell your product to? And some people say, I want to sell my product to everyone, but let's be realistic. Who buys your product? Who can buy your product? Now, if everyone can buy your product, Then you set up who's the first on the target market, who's the second, who's the third, how the step-by-step plan of how you will get there. So geographic location. With the, with internet, you could sell your product all over the state of Texas because you could just ship, or you could, people could come pick it up. It's just not, geographic location is just not a hurdle anymore. Demographics, the age range, the ethnicity, the race, who will buy your product. And then currently, how are these needs being met? Is this a new product? Is this new inception? Talk about that. Are they buying from someone else? And then also you want to include, why is your product or service better? The marketing plan. We talked about the sales strategy, sales last week. How are you going to sell your business? What's your strategy? Your pricing plan. Now, some people, they have issue about how to price a plant, how to price your own product. It's yours. You can make it less expensive, where you're making $2 off a shirt, or you can make it real expensive, where your profit is $10 or $15. But just know who your target market is. If it's a nonprofit that you're selling to, or people who have to, this is an extracurricular activity, they may not buy a $50 t-shirt. So just kind of know who where you fall in the pricing plan. And if you decide you want your profit to be $15, that's you. You just need to figure out your target market and how do you sell that to the demographics that you want to buy it. Advertising, promotion. How are you going to advertise and promote your business? Is it social media only? Will you advertise in maybe banquet books for high schools or for different chambers of commerce? Will you sponsor a table at an event and have people come up to you and you just sit there and talk to people about your product? You may give free samples if you're doing wedding cakes. You may do one of those bridal expos and give out coupons and free samples of your wedding cake or cupcakes. So people will know, hey, I think I want to try this for my wedding. And what are the benefits of your products and services? So, is it health wise? Is it price? Is it quality? What are the benefits of your products and services? And then the operating plan would just be like the business, physical location, facilities, equipment, the employees needed. So you would also include if yourself, if you have hired full-time employees or part-time employees, your contractors / 1099, or your people that are, which also includes your people getting paid on commission. If you have inventory requirements and suppliers. So you want to include all of that. If your product is being manufactured overseas, you want to include that. And then financial summary. We talked a little bit about profit and loss, and the balance sheet and the liquidity ratios. So you would include that. And then if you haven't started the business, it's a projection. So all of this would be a projection of what your company would do in the first year, the first 2 years, first 3 to 5 years. If you're already in business, a little bit of history, and then more projections of what you expect to happen. So you can do the projections, or you can have someone like your bookkeeper, accountant, to do the projections. Just remember, when you're doing your profit and loss statement and your balance sheet, to have notes. So if you project, like in January, that you will get a contract, tie the contract to the notes. So people can say, oh, I understand why they think they'll make $10,000 this month, because this is, they expect to get a contract from the city of DeSoto. Also, if you reference news articles, put that in the appendix, and then also your resumes of your company. So the next part of growing your business would be certifications. And so we talked about this a little bit at the very beginning. These are ethnic, gender, and race certifications. So I always tell my clients, yeah, maybe the city of Dallas or DFW Airport or Dallas ISD has a goal of 30% women owned businesses and minority businesses, but don't limit yourself to the 30%. You can always bid as a prime and then use another minority or women owned business as a sub. So I tell my clients to compete on both sides because you don't have to limit yourself to minority to being a sub consultant or a subcontractor just because you're ethnic minority or a woman owned minority. Compete on both sides. If the project is in your size range, compete on both sides. So to qualify as a minority woman disadvantaged enterprise, a business must be at least 51% operated, owned, and controlled by an American ethnic minority group or woman owned business that is a U.S. citizen, physically located in the North Texas area for this purpose. And then the minority status constitutes Asian Indian, Asian Pacific, Black, Hispanic, and Native American. And so typically with a Native American, you have to be a U.S. Tribe, but I have seen some who have been recognizing the Canadian Native Americans, Native American tribes. So it just depends, I believe, on the entity. But usually these are American citizens, and some of them will do a permanent resident, and we'll get to that. For the certifications, how they choose, I should say how they choose, but how they decide that you are ethnic minority, they look at your birth certificate. If your birth certificate has your race or your ethnicity on it, then that counts. They look at passports and they look at driver's license. Now, if your birth certificate does not have your ethnic minority group on it, then you would have to fill out an affidavit. And so the reason why they do the certifications and make sure that you're who you are is sometimes people will start a business, and let's say that the business is a construction business, it's excavation. And a female that has a certification, a cosmetology certification, will start an excavation business, has no clue on how to do anything in construction, doesn't know how to estimate, but her husband is in construction. And she will start a business, and since she's a woman, will constitute for as a woman-owned business and fall in maybe the 30% subcontract award. And so to help out with this, what they started doing was looking for, make sure that you are the ethnic minority. They look at your resume. If you decide to go in construction, what type of construction work have you done? Now, if you just done like DIY projects, that's okay. You need to put that on there. If you have helped out your mom, your dad, your family members with one of their projects, you need to put that experience on there. If it's like legal, accounting, or some type of engineering, they're going to look for a degree or professional certification. They also ask for profit and loss balance sheet. They'll ask for, if you are a sole proprietor, they'll ask for the records from the county doing business as to see who actually own the business. And if it's a corporation or LLC, they'll ask for who formed the corporation and the papers from the state to see who actually owns the business. And then also remember, when you do the certifications, they'll ask for a bank card. And the bank card, they'll look to see who the signers are. Are the signers you and some other random person that you don't talk about in your certification application? Or are the signers you and a spouse, or just you? So with the certifications that we'll discuss, they do go through and talk about all the things that you need. So the first type of certification is the North Central Texas Regional Certification Agency, and so that is that's held with I believe the 12 surrounding counties from Dallas, Tarrant County, and outward, Collin County, and Ellis, and all those other ones. Um, so to be a minority business, they charge you for the application processing fee is $100. For a woman-owned business is $100. So to be designated as a minority business, 51% has to be controlled or and owned by an ethnic minority that we discussed on the previous slide. To be a woman-owned business, 51% of the business has to be owned by a woman. And then the disadvantaged business, those are usually for TxDOT, Texas Department of Transportation, or federal contracts, and that is free. That processing cost is free. And so that one entails a little bit more documentation, more like who are your top 3 projects, and then you have to fill out a personal financial statement with that. And disadvantage just means that you may be an ethnic minority or a woman-owned business and experience some type of disadvantaged situations, and also your net worth is less than a certain amount. So all that information is on the application, and you can go to the website nctrca.org and see what's going on there. How do you fit in? And then for the SBA, the 8A is a assistance program for small disadvantaged businesses, and it offers a broad scope of assistance to firms that are owned and controlled at least 51% by socially and economically disadvantaged businesses. And the SBA, the 8A program, the goal is to grow businesses. So the business may start out with sales of $200,000, and by the end of the 8-year program may be a $10 million business. Usually that's what happens in construction. There may be some other, like certifications, other award businesses where you do awards or provide some type of legal service that you may grow to be that large. But you just have to look at the SBA.gov and figure out where you fit in and how, if you can fit in the 8A program. The SDB is the small disadvantaged business. That also includes some of the government contracts that are there that are for SDBs. They all may have rolled up to 8A right now, but it just depends on what administration is there, whether the SDB is growing and functioning. But if you go to the SBA.gov, you will see that on the website. The next one, the DFW Minority Supplier Development Council, is a minority business enterprise certification. And so there's the website, and usually the DFW Minority Supplier Development Council, most of their clients are corporations like Southwest Airlines, American Airlines, Raytheon, JCPenney's, TI, those type of corporations. And so it's a private corporations accept this certification. And so the DFW's Minority Supplier Development Council, they are part of a larger council. So there's a council like in Atlanta, Miami, Chicago, New York. And so you can go to the website and then find other minority supplier development councils. If you decide that you are doing business, let's say with a railroad company or something like that, and their headquarters in Chicago, and they accept the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council certification, you would have to get certified here in Dallas, and then it would reciprocate to the one in Chicago. But that's not a problem. People do that all the time. This one, you're just exposed to more corporations, and the dollar amount of your contracts increase. And then a minority is defined as 25, the person as a minority is defined as 25% or more. And then there's an application fee that starts at $275 right now. The application fee is based on sales. So the more your sales are, and they do ask for tax returns, and that list of items that I said before, all these certifications ask for the same thing. And all of these certifications, they really do not accept paper applications anymore. You have to go to their website and upload the documents, or you can send the documents. So you can, I think the only ones that allow you to send documents or fax them would be the NCTRCA, the first one that we talked about. The rest of them require that you upload the documentation. It's a lot easier, things don't get lost in the mail, and people respond a lot quicker. The next one is the Women's Business Council, the WBE. And so that one is just kind of like the same, but it's the focus is would be women-owned businesses. Whether your race is, it includes all races and ethnicities, and it's also private corporations. So some of the same people that you see doing business with the DFW, MSCC will do business with the Women's Business Council, and these two organizations have luncheons. Pre-COVID would have lunches and dinners, networkers. I think they've pretty much gone online with the networkers, and then the business speakers from the different corporations, but they still have that one-on-one contact that you can meet people. If you decide that you want to sell to J.C. Penney's, or if you want to sell to Frito-Lay. Frito-Lay is one of their big corporate sponsors. If you decide, or Coca-Cola, if you decide that's who you want to sell to, then being part of these councils will help you get in front of these people by a luncheon or breakfast or an event or just a meeting that they will be a part of. And then you can sell your information and hopefully receive a contract. The next one is the historically underutilized business, the Hub. So the Hub is the certification for the state of Texas. So if you want to sell your product to, let's say, any university, whether it's the University of Texas, Texas A&M, what else do we have? University of Houston, any state university recognizes the Hub certification. Any department, whether it is the Attorney General, Child Protective Services, any department utilizes the Hub certification. So you can sell your product to anyone, whether you're selling with Texas Department of Transportation, whether you're doing construction, you could do flowers, legal services, business development services, if that's what you do. We had a contract with TxDOT providing bonding services to small businesses. And then you would basically use the same documentation that we talked about on the previous slide, and you would upload your information. And for this, you have to at least be 51% owned by an Asia Pacific American, Black American, Hispanic American, Native American, or American woman, and or service disabled veteran in the state of Texas. So with this one is different because you have to be a U.S. citizen. With I know with historically underutilized business and with the DFW Minority Supplier Development Council. You also have to have a Texas driver's license for this one. You cannot, you can move here, like let's say from Oklahoma or Arkansas, Louisiana, but you have to have a Texas driver's license when they ask for the driver's license. You cannot be a permanent resident. You just cannot. Now you can be a permanent resident on the NCTRCA, and that one takes permanent residents and U.S. citizens. So just wherever you fall, make sure you read the guidelines and the rules and you understand what they will and will not accept. Oh, and also this one, the hub is free, and they just started the online process, I think this month. And so you do not have to send your packet down to Austin and wait on it. So the next one will be strategic partnerships, um, complementary services. So let's say you make desserts, cookies, cakes, pies, or you do popcorn. Well, what you could do is call a caterer, and the caterers may be doing a lunch, um, or may start selling their boxes to schools or whoever. You may ask to put your dessert in the box, the cater box, or the plated dinner. However, they wrap up their services, you could ask to do that. You could ask to put in your popcorn. Um, if you have coffee, someone may have like a box of pastries and then a cup of coffee. You could, if you have a coffee company, you can talk to the caterer and say, "Hey, can we partner on this?" I was in a dealership, and I saw a lady brought in muffins, cupcakes for the people in the waiting area. And so, not sure how many times a week that she did that, but uh, for people who were waiting on their cars, who had to be there for a couple of hours, I think it worked out really well because she had all types of cupcakes and they were individually wrapped. So this was during COVID. So don't be afraid to do complimentary services. Um, it could be anything. Reach out to different people. Um, Make sure in the age of COVID, that you take the precautions, and then that you just make sure that you can succeed during COVID and post COVID. So the next one would be accessories. So uh, in that, like if you make hair accessories or ribbons, um, team up with the cheerleading competitions or uniform designers. So when they're selling uniforms, then your hair ribbons and hair accessories go with the uniform. It's a package deal. With the cheerleading competitions, make sure you have if they allow it, a table there where you can provide maybe hair accessories or ribbons or some type of. I think I've seen them with maybe a knee band, a knee brace or something. Make sure you can do that. Uh, so, like for construction or for any other business, the masks have been real important. So, for example, if the occupation is in the heat, rain, or cold, whether it's construction or maybe AT&T or gas, electricity workers, maybe even Amazon workers, because they're out in the heat, rain, and cold in the U.S. Postal Service. Maybe you can make masks and then team up with them to, they can provide their workers with masks, wristbands, or headbands for the sweat when it's hot. Um, if you make goggles, um, or even what I've seen people team up, they make safety vests that are cooling for the construction workers or people that are outside the the carriers. So the safety vest or any type of vest cools them down when the temperature reaches a certain degree. Professional services. So when big corporations hire new people, they have new hire packets. So if you're a realtor, your car dealership, you have educational services like tutors. Um, maybe the um, Maybe the family's coming in from a different state and they may have different requirements. They may need a tutor for their kids, or they may want a tutor for their kids to make sure they're on the right track. If you own a restaurant or if you have housekeeping, business. That would also extend to lawn services and maybe even small kind of like handyman services, moving services. Ask if you can put your flyer in their new hire packets. It doesn't cost anything. Um, it just may cost printing and always redesigning the flyer or postcard, but that may come, you may have some business that comes from there. And then if they're an international company, even better because they have vendors that you can get on there on their vendor database, and you can be one of five realtors or one of five um, educational tutoring companies. You can give their people a discount on your restaurant or your housekeeping services when they send people to you. Insurance agents. So I think we talked about this earlier about when you're in the service business, always find people. You never know who you need. So give your card to the lawyers, give it to accountants, business consultants, because like the agents, when you own a business and you have employees, workers' comp will come in to see how much you paid your employees. And so when they come in, if the if the business doesn't have, let's say, their QuickBooks together, or if they don't have all the information available for the insurance agent or Texas Workforce Commission, that's going to be a problem. So then you may the business may need a lawyer, it may need an accountant, and it may be that they are not operating efficiently, and they may need a business consultant. So you can always have strategic partnerships with people. You just have to think outside of the box of who can help you in your business. Also, with the complimentary services, with the desserts and the popcorn, you can do that in restaurants too. So, and I think I've seen that like in Walgreens that some people have I think people have sold their tea cakes or something. So just think outside the box. The next one would be government contracts. Sometimes people are afraid of government contracts just because sometimes government, when I say government, I mean like the city, the county, airports, transit facilities, tollway authorities. Sometimes they don't pay, they do not pay weekly. And sometimes they pay in 30 to 60, 90 days. And so that's where you would assess your business model of whether you need a loan for that or a line of credit, or if you can just handle it. If you are labor intensive, like your people expect to get paid every week, probably not. You will need some working capital, whether it's the line of credit or the loan or your own money to fund these projects. But I have known people who started out like maybe doing family members' home renovations or doing their own renovations, and then got on with the city doing their housing. It's a federal program where they do housing renovations for senior citizens. And now that one's pretty quick, where you work for 2 days, and then they can pay you within, I think, usually less than 30 days, and it may be like 14 days or something like that. But I don't have any clients to really know what that is, but their payment process, I think, is more streamlined. But when you're working with the airports and the big county governments, it has to go through a process. But just know that your business can grow from working with the government entities because they're always buying things. They always need things. And how you can know if they are buying your product is you go to their website and look under procurement, or you go register on their website under their vendor database, and then it can tell you what they buy and sell. If you don't see your product, you can always go and talk to the buyer and go in and talk to them about why they need to buy your product. That's your spill of Make sure it's short and sweet. Um, and then make sure that you've gone through their website and you know why they need to sell, why they need to buy your product, and why it's beneficial to them. Also, if a bid has just passed, usually what you can do is talk to people in the procurement department. Um, Maybe not if it's just passed like a week or so, but they can tell you like a list of bidders and what their prices are, and you can see if you can fit in there at any time. Um, Sometimes when you get the jobs with the different counties, cities, and local entities, they don't buy everything at one time. They may have a job that's $1,000 for 1 month, and then the next month there's nothing. The next month is 2,000, and you know that's how it goes. But you can talk to the procurement person about it. Make sure you just talk to them before the bid comes out, because during the time that the bid is out, they can't talk to local bidders. It's against the law. We talked a little bit about the certification of the Minority Supplier Development Council, the Women's Business Council. Do corporate contracts. You think that the corporations probably wouldn't buy desserts, but they do. They have different events all the time. When they're bringing in customers, they're sending thank yous to their biggest customers. They're trying to gain new business. So they may need some type of packet, cookie, a delivery, some type of package to say, hey, we're thinking about you. Also, with these, even with the county, the local entities, and with the corporations, they do sub some of their work out to professional services, whether it's legal, accounting. They may look for someone to come in and a business consultant. You never know what they're looking for. That's why you have to get on their vendor database and figure out what they buy and see where you fit in. American Airlines, they don't make their t-shirts or their button downs for their employees, so that may be a contract that would be good for someone. When they're on the plane, they may have like coffee that they want to sell, or maybe the airport that this is the airport board, not the inside the airport, but the people who work for the airport, they buy and sell things too, just like different corporations. So if you're ever confused about it, go and talk to the buyer and develop that relationship. And also go talk to the small minority or women-owned business department, because they have a good insight on where you can fit in inside of their corporation or their entity. So the next one is franchising your business. Now, this one, I will say, is that you have to do a lot of research. It's not easy, and you have to I would say, look at how the Molly Maids and the different janitorial, I think it's Kings, are franchising, because those are the smaller franchises that people can buy for like $10,000 and get in. Or how do you want to set up, your franchise? Do you want to set it up like McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, where you get a portion, where the people get the name, they learn the process, and you get a portion of sales? How do you want to set up your franchise? So it takes a lot of research, it takes a lot of marketing, but just know how you want to set up your franchise. But here's the reason. Why would you want to franchise your business? Because it increases your growth. If you set up the process correctly, you're just taking money from additional people that want to come in and buy your business at $10,000 or $15,000 a pop, or you're getting a percentage of gross sales, not net sales, net profit, but gross sales. So before they even pay for products and services or employees, you get your percentage up front. And then what else would you do? You would evaluate your business. And that's the thing that takes a lot of time, to do the market research, to figure out if you have a business that can franchise. And so what would you do? You would hire key people. You would talk to lawyers because you have to have a concrete legal agreement. You would talk to financial people like bankers and accountants to make sure that your model is, if they run your model correctly, that they will make money. And then operations, just like how would you allow people to buy your business in the same geographic area? So would you, if you were doing a janitorial service, would you allow people to have a business both that lived in Cedar Hill or DeSoto, or would you make them spread out like Chick-fil-A does, where they tell you, necessarily you probably wouldn't tell people where to start their business, but you would you have like geographic boundaries over people? And how would you decide that? Would it be the number of people that live there and that were looking for that service? How would you do that? And so, franchising your business, um, if you're looking to grow your business, it could really help you out, but make sure you have everything covered and you really know what is going on. The next one, acquire another business. Research companies that are similar or complement your business, and then know how much you can spend on the acquisition. I think that's the biggest thing too, is to know how much you can spend. If you know you can buy the business at 50,000, is the business worth 50,000? Will they sell it for 50,000? What are you looking for? Um, are you looking at just sales? You're looking at potential. Maybe they have like large contracts with a local entity, or maybe like a school district. They provide shoes for the football team, for the volleyball team, for the basketball teams. So, are you looking for that type of contract? Know what you're looking for. So, how would you do it? You would contact the business, um, discuss the possibility of acquisition, and then if they are open to it, then you would hire a business appraisal and a legal team. And so, with that, you would want to hire someone who has experience in mergers and acquisitions of small businesses. Um, the appraisal, you would want to look at the financial statements. You would probably want to have an audit done on the financials to make sure that they're just not reporting sales that are not true. And then next step would be to negotiate and then to transfer the business ownership. Some people like to get rid of people um, once they buy the business. But I would say to think about it because the person that owns the business has the business contacts. And I've seen before where someone has bought a business and then they stay around for 2 years, and then the people that they had the contracts with don't buy from the business again. So they don't develop and cultivate those relationships. So that is, if acquiring a business is your way of increasing sales and growing, make sure that whatever contacts that business owner has, that you develop and cultivate that relationship. Because if you don't, in 2 years or whatever time period the owner decides to go away, that y'all negotiate, the owner goes away, those contracts may leave too. And then if that is 50% of your business, that's that's 50% of sales. So that will greatly impact your business. Well, that is the end of the slideshow. Um, in the chat will be the link to the Zoom that I will do for 30 minutes. That Shaniqua and I will do for 30 minutes after. And if you have any questions, make sure that you go to the Zoom and ask the questions. Thank you and have a good night.